This landscape couldn't be any more different to where my people are from in Central Australia. But there's something that I share with the First Nations people from Norway, and that's the legacy of colonisation. As Australians head towards a referendum to potentially change the Constitution and recognise our First Nations people,
I have every faith that Australians will rally and vote yes in this referendum.
We are saying no to the referendum and no to the voice.
here in Norway they've had a voice to Parliament for the past 3 decades, and I've come to see how it works. It's the middle of summer and I'm in the Arctic Circle where the sun never sets. I'm going to a festival called Ridu Ridu. It's a celebration of Scandinavia's First Nations people, the Sami. The festival is a mixture of music, art, politics and folklore.
First it started as a gathering for the local people, then it became a Sami festival and now it's an indigenous festival. So
Katja is 25 and she's somewhat of a regular to the festival.
Where did you grow up?
Well, just below that mountain, Stora Tjorka. So if you walk 20 minutes up the valley, you'll see a white house.
And do your family still live here?
Yes, they're everywhere, actually. I can't walk 2 meters without being stopped.
And why is this festival so important to you and other Sami?
It's a place where you can meet each other, see each other, and not feel alone in this majority society we usually live in. And it's something that helps our identity grow stronger as an indigenous people and also just as individuals to not feel so alone and to feel stronger because we've been colonized for over 1,000 years. So the fact that we're still here makes me, and I know a lot of us, really proud.
The Sami are an indigenous people inhabiting the Sapmi region, which spans across northern parts of Norway, Sweden, Finland and into Russia. There is thought to be around 80 to 100,000 Samis across this region. For centuries, the Sami were persecuted, to the point where many denounced their Sami roots.
It was a lot easier to live in Norway and under Norway's rule without being Sami. And you were treated really badly. You were given less rights, you lost your name, everything if you were Sami. And so you stopped being Sami, and there's been a lot of shame around it. So Ridu Ridu has really helped revitalize this Sami culture, pride, language, everything.
What started as a Sami celebration has turned into a beacon for First Nations people from across the globe.
I've come to represent my tribe, but also to, share my music and stories with the world. I feel like we're building solidarity amongst Native people around the world because being Indigenous is a global thing.
And with this First Nations solidarity comes politics.
We celebrate our own culture and also our place in the Indigenous world. Because of the position we have in Norwegian society, being Sami is sort of a political thing in itself, in a way. Ends up being like that, unfortunately. So when we are here, we are proud of who we are, then that becomes political in itself.
And politics is why I'm really here. 3 decades ago, the Norwegian government gave the Sami people their own parliament. It's known as the Sametinget. And its president is Silje Kurin Mutka.
The freedom of speech and the right to state your opinion, that's something you can't take for granted. It is the most important thing you can enjoy as an Indigenous people and a little group.
This festival, what is it for you? Is it a time for you to come to relax and enjoy yourself, or is it, you know, a time where people come up to you and speak to you about, you know, Sami issues? What happens?
I often, when I go here in my role, it's because I have work. But it is a time where I can take the temperature on what's happening amongst the people and talk to them, of course.
The Ridu Ridu Festival site and the buildings surrounding it have become an impressive symbol of Sami cultural resurgence.
Yeah, right now we are outside the Northern People Center. There's a cultural part in this building, and there are the Sami Parliament. We have offices there, it's a library, it's a lot of things.
You also have a kindergarten over there. Tell me a bit about that.
That is a place where the Sami children do enjoy their right to practice their language and their culture. So that is a very important political topic, and I think that is one of the biggest financial steps we have taken this period in the parliament.
Norway did not change their constitution to establish the Sami parliament. They did it via legislation instead. And while the details of what Australia's voice to parliament could look like are not finalised, the Norway model shows us how one country is doing it. The Sami parliament has 39 elected members and a president. They are elected every 4 years by registered voters who have proved their Sami heritage.
Sametingsrådet fikk jo i oppdrag tidlig denne uka å utrede et forslag om at det skal gjennomføres en uavhengig granskning av Fosen-saken.
Besides funding various projects, the Parliament gives the Sami people a voice in the issues that affect their land and people.
I think the most important is that we have the possibility to state our opinion. But we certainly have done much other things that have been remarkable and good. We are distributing support for cultural activities, the Sami kindergartens. We have powers to decide the Sami curriculum for the Sami pupils in school.
It's heartening to hear how empowered Indigenous voices are driving a cultural change. But are they really being heard when it comes to business and power?
Is the Sami parliament listened to on all issues?
We are certainly struggling with the land and rights issues. And one of the problems is the green shift and energy situation in the world.
As Norway chases net zero, renewable projects have controversially been set up on Sami lands. The Fosen wind farm is Europe's second biggest wind project, producing more than a fifth of Norway's wind power. In 2021, 2 reindeer herders, backed by the Sami parliament, did the impossible.
Vi kan ikke tolerere mer inngrep I landet.
They took the green energy company to the Norwegian Supreme Court and won. It was ruled the wind farm violated the cultural rights of the Sami, and the reindeer herders demanded it be torn down. But 2 years on, the windmills still stand as the government tries to find a solution in which the windmills and reindeer herders can coexist.
When we have an injustice like that, if it's not addressed, then it is a question whether every person in this country can suffer from a breach of their fundamental rights.
It has become a countrywide issue, even attracting the support of climate activist Greta Thunberg. The Sami Parliament's battles with the wind farm have become a symbol of their struggles to be heard in the halls of power.
The verdict was stated 642 days ago, and there has not been action from the Norwegian government to put an end to the human rights violation. And the reason why it's a human rights violation is that the herders cannot carry out their reindeer herding because of the wind power plant.
Reindeer are sacred to the Sami, and herding them is a thriving traditional practice that has sustained them for thousands of years.
They call it green. I don't know if it's green, but it's doing a lot of harm.
Rayulf is a Sami reindeer herder, and he is fighting to keep his tradition alive. Like the Fussen case, he is also locked in a battle with a green energy heavyweight.
Doing this to the reindeer land, it's like doing something bad for all the reindeer people. Because when they don't respect me or my reindeer herding, why do they gonna respect others?
In 2015, Rayulf obtained the rights to herd on these Sami lands.
There has been reindeer people, herders and reindeers for, I think, thousands of years in this area and this land.
3 years later, construction started. He says a deal with the government had been penned years before, and the effects on the reindeer after its construction were largely unknown.
This is Wind Farm Northern Light, or Nordlysvind in its native Norwegian.
This Nordlysvind corporate video not only shows the construction process, but also highlights a promise that Rayulf says wasn't kept.
Reindeer breeding, a Norwegian tradition, must remain undisrupted. Northern Light Wind, caring for the future.
I don't know if it's the sound, but my reindeer don't like it. They don't like to be close to it. Then they get a little bit more used in winter time because they have to. But then these wind turbines are throwing ice about 7 months a year. Like 1 kilo in ice in 200 kilometers speed. It's really, really a lot. And you are like people, animals, everything it's dead.
During winter, ice builds up on the windmill blades, and as they spin, large chunks of ice are thrown. Rayulf fears for the welfare of his animals and anyone in the vicinity.
I have to gather them away from this area in wintertime, even if there is some food to find for them, because it's too dangerous. So I lose 100% of my reindeer winterlands. I have to give them food all winter.
Rayulf says the cost of feeding the reindeer in winter comes out of his pocket, and it's creating headaches of a different kind.
We are going to hopefully catch a reindeer mother with her child.
Rayulf is finding the once wild reindeer are now coming down from the mountains and closer to people.
I think she's a good example of a reindeer which has been too much close people, so she doesn't behave like a normal reindeer.
Rayulf's ancient cultural practice is changing.
And I don't think I'm alone in this boat. There are many, many other people, indigenous Samis, which are struggling.
He now spends his summers catching stray reindeer and taking them back to the mountains where they belong.
Manet ni lusa mana. Manet ni lusa ula. Tällä jokit, täällä makmakittä. With the rope, like when they're not in any fences, you have one chance to catch them. Because if they once feel the rope, you don't catch, they are gone. So you need to be sober. It's the first rule.
Is she heavy?
The Sami Parliament continues to support Rayulf and other reindeer herders with legal advice. But they have reached a stalemate with the Norwegian government and the green energy companies.
I need some help, if it's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I'll help you. Yes.
Thank you. Don't kill her, but just hold
No.
her. Yeah.
Won't.
This one
Yes, let's go.
Rayulf says Nordlys Vind have refused to compensate him or temporarily turn the windmills off. Do you think you'll be able to keep this business going?
I hope so, but I really don't know how I'm gonna do it if nothing changed. That's for sure. I'm afraid if I don't have my reindeers, there is no reason for living for me. And I know that I'm not able to bring further the language, the culture, and I'm concerned about my children. So for me, it's a really frightening. I don't used to touch all this. It's not easy.
Dateline contacted Nordlys Vind for comment, and they said they operate within the conditions of their permit. They deny that Rayulf is impacted by their operations, stating that the wind farm is not a natural winter grazing area for the reindeer. They also claim there has been no cases of people or wildlife being affected by ice throws. While the Sami Parliament is struggling to be heard when it comes to land rights, it has made great progress revitalising Indigenous culture, and I'm keen to see how. In Tromsø, on the western border of Sápmi, there is a new generation breathing life into an old language.
Olli, kuinka me vanna poradi? Täällä on läipi, täällä on lihti aili, lihti äggi. Olli, kuinka on teikka, hali kun tepichokkat, vai tämän stolalta? Joo, kuinka teikka.
Marty is speaking Sami. As a former security guard and bodybuilder, he is an unlikely kindergarten teacher.
Alla fall nyola tenkal, ma par kena ahti chaya dunya. Sata ne, ya yorgla neibi, no, ya bi khardesa.
As a teacher and a dad, he is changing the future for these Sami kids.
Ja tälle muusta nuoremusneita alkidohku, ja tälle muu noinen, että tälle hastalussa ajut saamekelhälli pargidohku. Man väivi, ja tällä nuu tehalas, että me färt haju saamekelhälli pargiteikka. Ja nu mun määrin, että mun valdan dan ahpu saamekel managerde uapähki ahpu.
For over 100 years, a policy known as Norwegianisation saw the Sami people dispossessed and forced to abandon their culture and language. Something I've seen happen in my own family. But now here in Norway, there has been an effort to right some of those wrongs and strengthen culture.
Hi, Marty.
Hey, uudespähtin Sami managarde.
So the Sami Parliament provides funding for places like this.
Here we have the kitchen and the biggest playroom where all the kids in the kindergarten can meet. But over here, it's
divided into two sections. So
this is the Sami section.
Area.
Yeah, this is the classroom for my guest. Here we meet every morning. We eat our breakfast here, and we have the morning gathering, and planning the day.
And how many kids would you have here learning the Sami language?
In this room, about 10 kids, and then we have the other classroom over here. I can show you.
Sami is now the official second language of Norway, but finding teachers who speak it is difficult.
Ow, Ollie, don't jump right onto my head.
Saametigila jolludan ruudai buot saamigel hallide makke park managers not mi ajfaha
kielellä tillägg touched.
To see Sami kids speaking a language that was largely banished feels like a positive step forward.
So what are you drawing here? What's this? It's a rainbow with not so many colours.
How do you say green? What's the word?
First you say
Luana.
Okay.
Luana?
You said it. That's all.
Luana. Do you think I'm good at speaking Sami language?
Not all of them.
Do I need to learn some more? I'm in Norway, where the First Nations people, the Sami, have had their own voice to Parliament for the past 30 years. It's an Indigenous body, similar to the proposed Australian voice to Parliament. Marty is a Sami kindergarten teacher. He has 2 daughters, Marion and Eiley, with his wife Tali. They've invited me over for Taco Tuesday.
Hi, Carla.
Hi.
Welcome to my novel home here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Be my guest, sit in the couch over there.
Tali is Norwegian, but she's adamant that her kids are raised with Sami values.
Because we wanted it to be a big part of their identity. Absolutely. I want them to be proud of who they are and where they come from and their history. So it's very important.
Your dad teaches you Sami?
Yes, teacher.
Can you say a few things for me? Say hello, how are you in
Hello.
Sami?
She just asked you in Sami, how old are you?
Oh, very old. You don't want to know. So I guess with all this language education, do you feel that it will change the situation for Sami?
Yeah, hopefully. I really hope so. Or else we're risking a dying language.
All the Sami languages are threatened, so it's really fragile. So we have a big responsibility to pass it on to our kids and next generation.
Protecting the language is a key issue for the Sami and for many Indigenous people who have endured forced assimilation.
Carla, do your kids know your traditional languages?
My daughter, she does speak her father's language, which is Wiradjuri, and that was gifted to her from her pop, her grandfather. But on my side, I wasn't able to learn my language from my mum or my grandparents, but it makes me feel really proud for my daughter that she's speaking her father's language, which is Wiradjuri. Yeah, but it is very important for identity, isn't it? Yeah, for people to know, children to know where they're from and.
It's about who you are as a person.
Yeah. What would you say to Australians who may be undecided about having an Indigenous voice to Parliament?
So there will always be skeptics. It's not about more rights than everyone else. It's about basic human rights, and that's the bottom line, I think.
They should embrace it because it's a big part of your history in Australia, your Indigenous people. It's like us Samis here in Norway as well. Before we were respected on a postcard only, but we are much more than that. And so are you Indigenous people, Aborigines in Australia. You should really be proud of having Indigenous people. Just think how poor your country would be without them. Yeah.
Meeting Marty and his family has shown me how an Indigenous Parliament can help connect kids to their language and culture. It's midnight at Ridu Ridu Festival, and the main act is in the midst of a traditional Sami yoik battle. An old tradition inspiring a new generation of First Nations people from as far away as Australia.
I've come from Kenyang clan in Noongar Nation, so that's the southwest of Australia. There's been lots of conversations about past pains from colonisation and the mission system, some truth-telling as well, and some stories that we're sharing about spirituality. So it's been a really powerful time here for me.
So what would you say to Australians who are about to head to a referendum to vote on a voice to Parliament?
It's sort of an interesting situation there, isn't it? The majority of people get to define how the indigenous people should be represented. At the outset, there's something very unfair about that, isn't it? I'm hoping that the people of Australia listen to indigenous organizations when they make their choice.
Coming here to meet Norway's First Nations people as Australia prepares to vote on an Indigenous voice to Parliament has been eye-opening for me. The Sami Parliament has made Norwegians realise the importance of keeping Indigenous culture alive in a country that for so long oppressed it. Yet it's not perfect here. The Sami continue to struggle when it comes to land rights. But I feel like the next generation is empowered to fight and be heard.
I think giving Indigenous people a voice and a true, efficient way to take part in decision making, this is the key to a lot of very, very difficult issues. And the Parliament is enhancing the possibilities for this.